What if the world's first civilizations, scattered across thousands of miles and thousands of years, all left behind the same clue? A single, baffling symbol that seems to connect them all. From the nearly 12,000-year-old pillars of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, to the gods of ancient Sumeria, and even, some say, to the mysterious Olmecs of Mesoamerica, we see what looks like the same object, a strange, structured handbag. Mainstream archaeologists see it as a powerful symbol, maybe of power or the cosmos. But for others, it's a clue to a secret that could rewrite human history. So, what was in the ancient handbag? And why does this one symbol seem to pop up all over the ancient world? The story starts etched in stone, in places so far apart that history books say they should never have known about each other. The first and maybe most startling appearance is at Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey. Here, on a pillar known as the Vulture Stone, among carvings of animals and other symbols, we find three distinct handbag shapes. The site itself dates back to around 9,500 BCE, placing it at the end of the last ice age, long before writing, pottery, or cities as we know them. Then, thousands of years later and thousands of miles away, the symbol reappears, clear as day. In ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, we see it again. The Sumerians, Assyrians, and Babylonians all depicted their most powerful figures, gods, goddesses, and mysterious winged sages called the Apkallu, clutching this identical object. And these weren't just any figures. They were the bringers of civilization, the founders of dynasties. But here's where the puzzle gets really controversial. Proponents of a global connection claim the symbol jumps continents. Across the Atlantic, in the jungles of Central America, they point to Olmec carvings like La Venta Monument 19, which show a powerful figure holding a bag-like object. Some even claim to see echoes of the design in the art of the Maori of New Zealand, who spoke of baskets of wisdom from the gods. How is this possible? How could cultures, separated by vast oceans and millennia, independently create and revere such a specific object? Is it, as most archaeologists suggest, a fascinating coincidence? A case of different societies arriving at a similar shape for a similar purpose? Or does this apparent global pattern point to a hidden connection, a forgotten chapter in the human story that we're only now beginning to piece together? To understand the handbag, you have to look at who was carrying it. And in almost every confirmed case, it's in the hands of someone, or something, of immense power. In Mesopotamia, the handbag is almost exclusively an accessory for gods and the Apkallu, 7 mysterious sages said to have brought the basics of civilization to humanity after a great flood. These beings, sometimes shown with bird heads or cloaked in fish skins, were divine teachers. They're often shown holding the handbag, which scholars identify as a ritual bucket, or bandadu, in one hand, and a pinecone-shaped object, a mullaloo, in the other. The accepted interpretation is that they were performing a ritual of purification, using the cone to sprinkle holy water from the bucket to bless kings or sacred trees. This act symbolized the transfer of divine power and guaranteed the fertility of the land. In Mesoamerica, the proposed connection to authority is just as strong. The Olmec carving from La Venta shows a figure, likely a ruler, seated within the coils of a feathered serpent, holding the object some theorists identify as the handbag. The symbol, they argue, is consistently linked to figures of power, knowledge, and divine right. Even in New Zealand, alternative theorists point to Maori legends of the hero Tan, who climbed to the heavens and returned with 3 baskets of knowledge, the Kete o Te Wananga, containing all the wisdom humanity needed to thrive. While the story is compelling, it's important to note that most scholars find no direct visual link between the depictions of these baskets and the handbags of Göbekli Tepe, or Mesopotamia. The pattern in the Near East, however, is undeniable. The handbag isn't for everyday people. It's a badge of office, a tool carried by deities and civilizing heroes. It appears in scenes of creation, purification, and the founding of societies. So, the question deepens. Was this a universal symbol for divine authority that different cultures stumbled upon? Or was it the literal toolkit of the gods, holding the secrets of civilization itself? For decades, archaeologists have grappled with this recurring motif. And while the idea of a lost global civilization is tantalizing, the mainstream view offers more grounded, yet equally fascinating explanations. The consensus is that the handbag isn't one single object, but a powerful symbol that likely developed independently in different cultures, a phenomenon known as convergent symbolism. The most widely accepted interpretation is that the handbag is a cosmic symbol. In this theory, the shape itself is sacred geometry. As symbolism expert Richard Scranton noted, in many ancient cultures, a semicircle represents the heavens, while a square represents the earth. The handbag, with its curved handle over a rectangular base, perfectly unites these two concepts. It becomes a visual metaphor for the connection between heaven and earth, spirit and matter. In this view, the bag doesn't need to contain anything. Its power is in what it represents, a portable symbol of cosmic order. Another theory focuses on its ritual function. In Mesopotamia, as we've seen, the object is clearly a bandudu, or ritual bucket, used to carry holy water for purification rites, absolutely essential rituals in early agricultural societies. So the figures weren't just holding a bag, they were performing a sacred job vital to their civilization's survival. At Göbekli Tepe, a compelling, though less common theory, has been proposed by some archaeologists. They suggest the handbags aren't bags at all, but schematic drawings of the site's own sacred enclosures. The rectangular part could be the walls of the temples, and the handle could be the conjectured roof. If true, the carvings aren't a mystery about a lost object, but an early blueprint of the very place where they were carved. These theories may lack the drama of ancient aliens, but they paint a rich picture of how our ancestors used simple shapes to convey profound ideas about their world. But if these explanations are so sound, why does the mystery refuse to die? Before we dive into the theories that challenge everything you just heard, if you're enjoying this journey, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what's next. Alright, now we're stepping outside the bounds of conventional archaeology. For many, the idea that a handful of disconnected cultures coincidentally created the exact same symbol for their gods and kings is just too big of a stretch. This is where the alternative theories come in, proposing that the handbag isn't a symbol, but evidence.